The refusal to speak. Silence can be louder than shouting. The refusal to speak is the most basic form of protest. It withdraws cooperation. From prisoners who resist interrogation to workers who stop replying to unfair bosses, silence forces power to face emptiness. The powerful thrive on noise, responses, debates, explanations, because noise means control, but silence denies them that satisfaction. When someone stops speaking, it means they've stopped seeking approval. And nothing unsettles authority more than a voice that decides it doesn't owe an explanation anymore. The sit-in. A sit-in is rebellion disguised as stillness. It looks peaceful, but it's pure disruption. Students sit in hallways, workers in offices, citizens in public spaces, refusing to move until injustice moves first. The brilliance of a sit-in lies in its paradox. Doing nothing becomes action. Power, which usually demands obedience, suddenly panics when obedience takes the form of stillness. They can handle violence, but not calm defiance. Violence is predictable. Silence is strategy. Everybody sitting quietly becomes an immovable paragraph in history's longest sentence. Resistance. The boycott. Boycotts turn consumption into resistance. When people stop buying, watching, or participating, money stops flowing. And money is the only language most institutions truly understand. A boycott says, "We don't need to shout to starve your system." It's silence in spreadsheets. Each person quietly opting out adds up to a thunderous no. Every empty seat, every unsold product, every canceled subscription is a whisper that builds into a scream. The system that ignored voices suddenly panics when wallets go quiet. Silence, it turns out, is bad for business. The hunger strike. A hunger strike turns silence into pain. When someone refuses to eat, they weaponize their own body, turning self-control into confrontation. It's moral leverage. You can ignore my words, but you'll have to watch what your power does to my body. History remembers hunger strikers not because they shouted, but because they decayed in plain sight. It's protest as endurance, a language made of weakness that feels stronger than any weapon. Power doesn't know how to argue with starvation because it can't win without watching itself become monstrous. The walkout. The walkout is simple. Leave. Students, employees, or citizens collectively stand up and step out. It's elegant, almost cinematic. The sound of chairs scraping the floor becomes a soundtrack of defiance. It's not rage, it's rejection, an unspoken message. You no longer deserve our presence. Silence can be more humiliating to power than insults. You can't argue with an empty room. The absence of voices becomes its own kind of roar, a silence so unified it shakes walls built on ego. The symbolic gesture. Sometimes protest hides in symbol, a bowed head, a raised fist, a knee on the ground. No words, just presence. Symbolic silence works because it flips meaning. A gesture so small becomes threatening precisely because it's quiet. Power expects outrage, but not subtlety. A knee on the ground during a national anthem can shake an entire country because it exposes the tension between pride and pain. Silence becomes confrontation, not by what it says, but by what it refuses to celebrate. The refusal to participate. Sometimes protest means doing absolutely nothing. No boycotts, no marches, no statements, just withdrawal. Artists stop performing. Athletes refuse to play. Citizens stop voting in corrupt systems. It's not laziness, it's precision. Refusal creates absence, and absence exposes dependence. Systems crumble when the people they exploit stop showing up. It's the quiet version of revolution where rebellion looks like apathy but smells like awakening. The loudest silence in history has always been the moment when the workers, the thinkers, and the dreamers simply stop cooperating. The morning protest. Grief can be political. Candlelight vigils, empty shoes placed in squares, photos of the lost across silent crowds. All reminders that absence can be its own accusation. The morning protest doesn't scream for justice. It whispers that injustice already happened. It's a silence soaked in loss, one that power can't easily dismiss. You can't arrest candles or debate tears. Every light, every flower, every bowed head says, you can't kill memory. In a world addicted to noise, mourning is the most haunting silence of all. The everyday silence. Not every protest makes headlines. Some live in small acts, ignoring propaganda, not laughing at cruel jokes, refusing to pretend everything's fine. These micro-silences add up. They are quiet cracks that widen systems from within. Everyday silence is slow rebellion. invisible but constant. And sometimes it's survival. Because when speaking risks punishment, staying silent isn't cowardice, it's calculation. Stillness can be sharper than confrontation. History doesn't just remember who shouted loudest, it remembers who stayed silent long enough for truth to echo by itself.